There's a clip there, and that's it there. There we go. So I'm just trimming off a little bit, just about 3 or 4 mil. It's just catching on these screws here. There's tons of space back here, but look how good that looks. Oh, we're working. There's physical buttons. Your volume button here, it's a physical button up and down. We've got a forward and a back, and we've got a little microphone and a home button. So you can press that and you can go back to home. Which wire to join and which wire to cut. The brown cable on the harness, and I left the other one open. So steering wheel functions, this is how you program it. So this video has been a little bit of a long time coming because unfortunately I was trying to install the stereo on my little Honda Civic Mk8, and Bass Junkies, which is the company I bought the surround from, sent me a broken surround, and I've had to wait all this time to get one that is not broken. It was snapped in 4 places, and I've just realized that's actually snapped off. That's terrible. I'm not happy about that. So I've got all the bits now. The stereo I'm going to install today is by a lovely little company. They reached out to me and it's called ATOTO. And this here is their infotainment system, the X10. And here's the thing, I'm not on my normal place of residence. And this is why I love doing these videos. I've got limited tools. I've got a little head torch. I've got a little multi-tool. You don't need to have a garage. You don't even need to have a drive. You can do it on the side of the road. And I'm going to prove that point because, as I said, I haven't got my normal tools. But that's why I like doing these videos, to show you that just use what you got. Do it yourself, save a bit of money, enough talk. Let's get this stereo out, and I'm going to show you exactly firsthand what it's like to install, because I haven't done it before. So give you guys a real life understanding of what's involved. So first of all, it's a right-hand drive car. It's a Honda Civic Mk8 and it's a 2009. And whenever I'm doing car stereos, I always like to sit on the left-hand side because I'm right-handed. That way I can get in and out a little bit easier. Now, if you haven't seen my lovely little video I did on how to remove the stereo on a Honda Civic Mk8, then unfortunately for you, you're going to have to undo a few panels, and that involves taking the armrest out. You've got to remove the armrest. It splits into 2. And once you've got that away, then you can access 2 screws, which are actually sort of hidden behind this little ducket here. Because I've already done it once before, I've actually left those 2 screws off, because there's 2 screws, or maybe 3 at the top, that locks this in. And I promise you, it's not going to go anywhere. So it's a lot easier now for me. I can take this stereo out in 5 minutes. But if you haven't taken it out already, then follow the video coming up right now. And this is how you remove the stock head unit. Underneath this piece, there is fittings. So now I'm going to take out this part here, and the whole lot's got to come off so that this can then come out. This driver's side panel off. There's one fixing point there. You just need to remove that. Things on the passenger side. That's if you're in the UK, of course. It's loose. This is the one on the back. Good. And we'll see if I can slide that off. Success! Clip in the middle, and I can see somebody's tried to glue this. It's been broken before, so he's probably not realised there was a clip there, and that's it there. So that's what's stopping it. There we go. So importantly, what we need to do now is there's one here and there's one here. So let's do that. Yeah, it's the same as what with the original fixing. So once you've got all the panels removed, obviously I've still got mine in here because I don't need to remove those 2 screws I was telling you about. Start with this panel at the top. Now this panel has to lift straight upwards. Try not to twist it too much, because you'll see in a second as I get a little pry tool that you can actually end up snapping the rear fittings there. So just start on one corner and just sort of get yourself a little bit that you can grab, and then just work your way along all the way around. This is just my air freshener. You want to sort of try and lift that back now as best you can without twisting it too much. Like that. And lift it up. there you go. And it's these here that you're sort of lifting upwards. Little tip, you can put a little bit of silicone spray on there and it just helps it for the next time. And now you'll find that there's 3 screws at the top, here, here and here. I'm going to use my little multi-tool. Got my little Phillips here. Right, so now with those 3 screws removed, you'll see now that I can lift the whole of this out in a oneer because, as I said, I don't have those base screws in. And if you want to become a member, I will absolutely do my utmost for you, whether it's in and around diagnostics, which is one of my specialities, as well as car stereos and a whole load of automotive stuff. As a member, you will get priority and I will do my utmost and give you far more information. So have a little think about joining the Groove On team. And these are those 2 little troublesome screws here and here. So if it's sitting like this, they're facing upwards. You can just about kind of get in there at the bottom, but it's really awkward. I mean, it's a silly design really, but I leave those out, and then as you can see, you can actually remove the stereo in 5 minutes. Just watch you don't scratch your console here, and just unplug all the plugs. They're pretty self-explanatory. They only go one way. It's called poka-yoke in the trade. It's a Japanese term for basically meaning can only fit one way. Now, different models of Hondas have different setups at the back. I have tried before to get a little Bluetooth audio sort of adapter, but it never really worked. I wanted to try and connect my mobile phone, which is why I'm really glad of fitting the ATOTO head unit, because the one thing I miss is the Bluetooth connectivity, along with having maps on the screen and everything else. This is just my little commuter car, but I still like to have the sort of modern day creature comforts of the connectivity through your phone, etc. Right, so there's your stereo, and these vents here are going to remain, but that is in the new fascia, which I've got here. You get the idea. It's going to sit in here and the new stereo will sit in that hole there. So there we go, before, after. On the back of the existing, there's a couple of screws to undo, the little Phillips. So get my little multi-tool out. And then this now will go into your new fascia like so, and you can screw the 2 screws either side. So the other thing you'll need to remove from the existing is your push button for your hazards. So I'm going to put that in there whilst I remember. So we've got it all populated and furnished with the vents and the old hazard button push thing. Now, the stereo itself, by the way, look at that, it's a beauty, isn't it? Really lovely bit of kit. I can't wait to test it out. There's 2 mounting brackets that come with it. You've got the ones that come with the plastic surround, which are these little fellas here, and they are handed, so left and right. And as you're looking at it, the left one for me is going to be at the base here. It's going to be on this side, and you simply put 3 screws, comes with the little screws, and then you got some mounting screws to go on there, and you do it either side. So I could use the plastic ones, or if I felt like it, as part of the ATOTO kit, and it says in the instruction manual that there are metal L brackets that get supplied, which are these fellas here. So I could actually just pop those in. It also comes with the screws, which is nice because the Base Junkies ones only gave you the plastic supports. So what I'm going to do is use the screws that came with the ATOTO brackets, and I'm going to use the plastic supports because this is what was provided with the surround. Also, as part of the ATOTO kit, you got your little bezel surround that slots into it there. I actually also got one from the fascia kit, but it doesn't quite fit. And as well as that, they also give you a couple of screen protectors. They give you a slightly finer bezel, must be for a slightly different model, and you get a little rubber grommet surround as well. I just noticed, interestingly, they've also given me a little ATOTO Club little SD card, which I'll be having a look in due course. So all the bezels, one fits beautifully around the radio, but it doesn't fit in my fascia, and the other one's too small, so, and one of them snapped. So what I'm doing is I'm just trimming off a little bit, just about 3 or 4 mil, and then it should fit just nicely into the fascia. That's beautiful. Ho, ho, ho. Not bad. So I've basically taken 3 mil off the top and bottom, and now it fits as snug as a glove. I mean, look at that. So now the stereo. Will fit in there. Lovely. Couple of the brackets on the back. We are all good in the hood. And once you've got it in place, so what I found was putting those 2 screws in first either side then keeps it all from falling away from you, and then you can sort of push it and get it looking nice and snug, and when you're happy with that, looks pretty good to me, tighten those screws up, make sure it's nice and even all the way round, and then you can pop in some other screws. Good. The rubber gasket is kind of designed, I think, in case you can see all the way through, but I've got such a nice fit here with my bezel that I don't actually need it. So I've just used the rubber gasket to kind of give it a little bit of friction. What do you think? Looks pretty good, huh? Right, importantly, let's try and wire it up. Right, let's have a little look and see how she looks. Just going to tuck these wires in the back there. There's quite a lot of space in this little Honda Civic, which is nice. So I don't think I've got any problems with wiring looms. Other cars can be really tight and fiddly. Right, let's see. I'll move all that way. Now, somebody did mention that you may need to just take away a little bit of the corner here, which I can see exactly, look, it's sitting up a little bit there. So that's an easy job. I'll get my little multi-tool out and I'll just give it a little trim. So this little lug here, that little elongated hole there is what picked up that little fitting there. On the new fascia, God, it's a lot lighter. It doesn't have one there. It's missing. But it seems to just catch on that corner. So I'm going to take the little metal spring clips that go on here and here, and then they can wedge into that one. And likewise, there's going to be here, here, and here. And then those 3 fixings are just the screws that go in the top. Easy as that. I see some people cutting it and things, but you can just snap it. Right, let's see how we get on with that. That's better. Maybe just a tad more. Now, as I said, I haven't got my normal tools with me. Normally I'll get a pair of snips in there, but you work with what you've got. It's nearly there, it's nearly there. I wonder if it's catching on that screw there. It might just be catching on that little screw. I just need to take just a bit more of that away there. So you just need to take off about 3 mil all the way down here, because it's that which is just catching on these screws here. That's all it is. So I've got my little handy multi-tool. I'm just going to run down here. and there's a metal bracket just behind. You can kind of just push it, now that I've got that screw removed, and just slightly bend it out the way, just slightly, like that. That's much better. And with those clips, when I put the metal parts back on, that will sit there beautifully. There you go, just a little bit of a thing on the side, and that's all you need to do. But look how good that looks. Oh, I can't wait to see this thing come to life. Right, just to give you an idea here, this is what I've trimmed down here, taken off that part of the bottom. So you want to take a good sort of 3 or 4 mil off that side. Here is the bracket. I've removed that screw, and then you can just kind of push it in slightly, give yourself a bit more space. You don't need to put the screw back in again. So I'm just going to take these little brackets now with the metal bits, take those off. There you go. And then they then pop onto the respective lugs, and you can reuse those again, like so. So that's one. Good. Right. So no particular order, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but this is the Connect 2 wiring system, and importantly there is this little module, and this kind of interfaces with the steering wheel, etc., and works with the CAN bus with the car. Also on the ATOTO harness setup, they give you a little antenna for your GPS, and it comes with all the other bits and pieces as well. Let's start with the large cable connection here, and you're just basically looking for what is the male and female. So this is the new one, female. This is the original one that went into the back of the radio, and it's connect them together. Now I've got my ISO connector, which is part of the radio kit, so that's now going to connect into the Connect 2. They do give you 2 different types of harness, so you have to just make sure you use the right one. If it doesn't work with one, then it's going to be the other. That connects in there. Okay. And what's nice about it is they've labelled it all here as well. So you've got amplifier, if you've got a separate amp, parking brake. I haven't got a parking brake, but if you did, you got a steering wheel key and power antenna, etc. So again, from the Connect 2, this thing goes into the existing harness there, and then you've got this other grey connection, which has obviously got to go into this fella here. This is probably for the display at the top there. Right, so what we've got left, so this one I believe goes into your hazard. I'll click that in there, and actually that should work. We're working. Good, beautiful. And I'm going to need an adapter because this is my coaxial for the aerial, so there should be an adapter. So that's going to pick up the little fiber optic there, and then this is going to connect into here. I would think that this is your power cable, and there's one here that says power antenna, so I'm going to connect those 2 together. We'll just do it momentarily because I just want to test it to make sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it on. Let's see how it goes. I've got this one here, which I need to work out where that's going. I think this then connects into, this is going to connect into your Connect 2. Like so. And then the output of this is going to be, it needs to be the right combination, because there's loops here which, if you look at the instruction manual, it says you either connect or you cut them. I haven't been able to find the right instruction manuals yet to work with this car and this stereo. So it's going to be a bit of trial and error on that one. I did contact ATOTO, but they haven't actually managed to provide me that information. But nevertheless, I should be able to work something out. Right, so this is going to connect with the steering wheel. So let's pop that here. And let's first of all see, hopefully you can see it. Let's see if it comes to life. So, keys in. Oh, we're working. Beautiful. We got Android. Obviously, I'm going to pair my phone and all that good stuff, but she's working. Right, so we obviously don't have any sound, so I'm going to plug in that power cable now. This is just the radio that I've got on at the moment. It will, at least I've got sound through the speakers. So here's the power cable for the aerial, and this is the power antenna. Yep. Okay, let's just temporarily join those together. Make sure it doesn't touch your chassis. And let's do a little skip.
Must have loved Steve so much. There
we go, it's working. I'm kind of glad. Let's turn the volume down. How'd I turn the volume down?
James says, what a beautiful story. Good luck with the marathon on Sunday. Yeah.
I'm kind of glad there's no music, because otherwise I get a copyright strike. But there you go, beautiful. Right, so now what we've got to try and do is we need to make sure that the steering wheel works. So this is the CT Multi-Lead 2 by Connect 2. And you can see that I've got a spare one of these, that they've looped these cables here. There's an orange, a green and a purple. And you can either plug it in using this little audio jack, but I don't have that on the back of the ATOTO. And on the instructions here, if you've got an Alpine, then it shows the brown and the purple, and it does list different systems: JVC, Clarion, Kenwood, Alpine, and at the bottom it says Chinese learning brands, and it's got their J2 is 1, and the green is 1, and the purple is 1. So I need to somehow work out which wire to join and which wire to cut. There is actually an antenna which I can put in. So I've got a little USB additional connection here, which allow me to connect all sorts of devices, your mobile phone, or you've got a third-party device. And this is your antenna for the GPS. And this is going to go into this little connection here. But a little tip, before you plug it in, it's always easier to start with the small end and then run it down through rather than trying to feed this through. So I'm going to mount the antenna just on the top here. Cable there. Alright, antenna's pushed in, and I'll just click that in place so we can now put the stereo back into the car. At least there's lots of space back here to tuck the cables away. Ho, 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 ho. I've even fed the little USB through the little cubby hole there. There's a nice little bit of space. Good evening, I have made some progress. It's the next day. So before I put it all back together again, as you can see, I've got the radio out. And there's a couple of things I want to tell you about. So amongst all the wires and cables at the back, the best thing about this, actually, I have to admit that being in this Honda Civic, there's far more room to play with these cables, and I've just tidied them up to keep them as neat as I possibly can. Now, in part of the kit, you get 2 of these ISO connectors, and it does say in the instruction manual that there's an ISO A and an ISO B. What I've discovered is that if I use the ISO B, it allows the memory of the radio to be maintained. So when you turn the key off, all your radio stations, your settings, your graphic equalizer, your Android Auto, all that good stuff is stored on the unit. So here's the unit on here. If I turn it off now from the key, it turns the unit off, but importantly, the memory is still there. So when I turn it back on again, it's all there. So that's number one. So make sure you get the right cable. Secondly, the steering learning setup. Now, There's going to be different setups of different cars. The Connect 2, which is this device here that comes with the kit, goes into the new harness, and then the other side of it, there's a little connection, which gives you these 3 pairs of cables. And in the instruction manual, you can see that it actually mentions talking about cutting them, either leave them open circuit or connect them with one another. But they're more for like the more branded stereos like your Panasonics and your Sony. So what I found is, took a little bit of trial and error, leave those alone. I've obviously cut them, but I've joined them back together again now. Some of them, there is this little earphone 3.5mm jack, which will connect straight into the back of some stereos, but on this occasion, that's not used. So I'm just going to connect that tidily to there and get that out of the way. Now the way that I've managed to make it work, I'm going to show you right now, is you need key 1 and you need the ground, obviously. Your ground for your Connect 2 goes in there. I'm going to crimp that together in a second. It's just temporarily held in. And then I found using key 1 and connect that to the brown cable on the harness, and I left the other one open. And once you've got those connected, go into the software on your radio and do this. So go into the apps, that's using the 4 little squares on the bottom there, and then go into Bluetooth 2. And within Bluetooth 2, there's a little SWC learning option. So select that, and I've actually already programmed the 2 buttons, but I'm going to do it again for you. So now on my steering wheel, if I press the volume up, you'll see on my screen, I've now got the volume buttons working on the steering wheel, and likewise volume down, so on and so on. Right, so you've got lots of functions here, more than actually you would have done with your existing Honda. So let's start again. I'm gonna redo things here. So let's press start. I'm gonna press reset. So now we've got a clean board. It's got an option there, you can actually turn the radio on. There's a physical button here, so I'm not gonna bother pressing that. It's no hardship really. And I didn't have a power button on my steering wheel initially with the old radio anyway. So steering wheel functions, this is how you program it. You have to do it all in one go and press save each time. I've learned that, otherwise it doesn't seem to remember it. So let's have a look at the buttons here. I've got my mode, I've got volume up and down, I've got channel up and down. And I'm going to sort of change how I had the existing setup here. I'm going to use my mode as my source. So you press the source button, it's going to flash, and then you press the mode button on your steering wheel to save it, and then you press save on the screen. So it's flashing away, so press the mode button once. There we go. And now press save. So now when I press the mode button, it should flick between menus. There we go. Got the radio on now. And I just keep going round, and it's going to go round in a loop, which I quite like really, because it means you can just sort of... Okay, so now let's do the volume down. So same idea, press start, and the source is already stored, so we're good with that. So let's press volume down, and press the volume down on your steering wheel. It's remembered it, press save, and now let's test to make sure. There we go. Volume's going down. Keep going, let's do the volume up. Press start, volume up. Stop flashing, press save. We've got volume up. Now, here's the one that I'm interested in. What I want to do is I'm going to do the channel back and the channel up. So if you've got like songs on a list or radio stations, you can skip up and down. So press start, and I want to go backwards first. So press that, press down. There we are. Press save. And then press that one, which is going to be going up, and press save. Right, so let's test out my new functions. So I'm going to go to radio. I can do everything from there. Hopefully we're not going to get too much music. I don't want to get a copyright strike. Right, so if I press now the volume up, there we go, volume up, all good, and volume down, lovely. So the volume works beautifully on your steering wheel. Now let's try the channel. I wanted it so that I can maybe skip forward and skip back. There you go. We can now skip through the channels, we can tune in, and that's going to be the same and go backwards. If, for example, I wanted to go through my playlist, I can just do it that way. And importantly, mode, if I press mode now, here we go, I can skip between the modes, and I just keep pressing it or keep going round in a circle. So now I've got all that set up. We now got a steering wheel function as well. And just to recap, the ones that I used to connect were just two. It wasn't key 2, it was key 1, and it was the ground. I didn't need to connect the steering wheel orange cable which came with the harness, and I didn't need to connect the grey one which came with the Connect 2. So I'm going to tidy that up, tuck that away, give those a nice crimp. We'll get the radio back in, and all intents and purposes, we are done. As I said, there's tons of space back here, which is beautiful. Just make sure you haven't trapped any wires. What a lovely fit that is. It's a really good match with the dashboard, by the way. And then just get your 3 screws at the top. As I said before, having those screws on the old stereo at the bottom were a real pain in the butt, because you had to take all your center console, your armrest out. But you can see that with this aftermarket stereo, it actually only uses the clips on the front and these 3 screws anyway, so there's no dramas there. Let me just get this little cover back on and just push that home. Easy as that. There's loads of things you can do, and there's going to be some follow-up videos. I'll give you a quick little demo of some of the features. So a nice thing about the radio here, you can press the little icon on the left and you can tune it like a regular radio. That's quite nice. Also, just press and hold and it will tune and go to the right station. Find a station that you like. Then you can press the heart. It's going to save it as a favorites, and then if you press the heart list, there you got all your favorites now stored. So just get it connected. There's so many features. You go into it, you can download whatever you want, but I'm going to get my Android Auto out. So there's a little button down the bottom there. There's physical buttons. I love the fact that you got your volume button here, so physical button up and down. Of course, we've now got it with the volume button on the steering wheel as well. We've got a forward and a back. I've also got that on the steering wheel as well. And we've got a little microphone and a home button. So you can press that and you can go back to home. So from the main screen, you can press CarPlay or Android Auto. That would bring up your Google Maps. So let's get that sorted first of all. Let's go into your CarPlay here and just follow the instructions on the screen. You download something called Z-Link 5, which I've already done. And it's like you to connect your phone with the Bluetooth. So let's go back to the home page. And we go into Bluetooth and we see all devices. I can see Bluetooth 2 has come up on my phone, so I'm going to select that. Comes up with a pairing code. Pair. And we're now connected. That's my little OnePlus phone. And I'm going to go back to my CarPlay now. If you go into this little gear icon here, you can then change the position. So I'm on the right hand side, so I'm going to move it over so that all the icons are on the right hand side. So we're connecting now. I've connected with the actual unit, which comes up on the phone as an X103. And there we go. We're all come to life. We got the Google Maps, which is coming off my phone. I've got a little song, Sultans of Swing by Dire Straits, which if I put that on, a little bit of volume. Not too much of that because YouTube gets upset. And it's telling me on the right hand side, these are my favorite apps. And of course you can customize those, have whatever you want to. I like to use Deezer, so comes up with my songs on there. I've got my phone. I can choose whichever contact that I want to go to. I've used the phone system and it works really, really well. There's an inbuilt mic there. There's also an external mic which you can plug in at the back and then have it mounted up here somewhere as well. As I said, there's so much to actually show you on what this unit can do, and I'm not going to bore you with it now. So do let me know down below and I'll do my very best to do a special little video for you. But look how beautiful this looks. And I did that all with a simple set of tools sitting on the roadside, not in my home address, not in a garage. And if I can do it, you guys can do it. And I've done this for the first time and it was pretty straightforward, to be honest with you. The only thing I would say is the steering wheel functions is going to be specific to your car. That took me a little bit of figuring out, but I got there in the end. And so the last thing up on the screen here, before, obviously that's where you would have your radio station and everything else, or your CD. But because that's now no longer in use, you're going to come up with just the date, and if the key is on, you'll have the fan and etc. coming on there as well. Got your temperature and then your fan controls, etc. Now, to set the date, before you used to use the radio, obviously, but here's the thing, you now use the mode button on your steering wheel. Now, if you remember, I've actually now programmed the mode button to work with the source. So if I press it, look at the screen, it flicks through. But if you press and hold it for about a second, then if you look up at the top, it says 1:09 in the morning, that will change. Now it'll start flashing, and that's how you program the date. So we're in 2025, you can see it's gone back to default the 1st of the 1st, 2008. So you press and hold the mode button, watch the screen. Now it's starting to flash, and the time at the moment is 7:41 in the evening. So now you use the channel up and down, and you'll flick through until you get to your required time. Once you've got that, you then use the volume button to go to the minutes, and it's 42. And then flick up on the volume to now do the date, and the date today is the 29th of April. In America, we put the day before the month. You're going to go, what is it? 4th April 29th you go, don't you? Most of the world doesn't, but anyway. So it's the 29th. Actually, I wonder what that happens in America. Do you have it so that on your Honda Civic that you've got the month first? Anyway, 29th, then press the volume up. Then we're going to go to 4. There's my 4. Volume up. And we're going to go 2025. And once you've got it all as you like it, you press the mode again, press and hold. Done. Date and time all set. So look, I really appreciate you watching. There are some lovely playlists at the end. I'll see you on the next one.